Hi, I'm Pam and I'm here to talk about retro video games. Today I'm reviewing a rare and controversial survival horror game. I've put the entire playthrough up on my channel, but realized that I never did an actual review. No time like the present. It's Rule of Rose. Rule of Rose was developed by Punchline and released for the PlayStation 2 in 2006. It's a survival horror game that tells the story of an unlucky orphan girl named Jennifer. As the game begins, Jennifer is a young adult and finds herself drawn to an abandoned orphanage. Here she follows the vision of a young boy and finds a grave, and that's where things get a little weird.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Aristocrat Club. Thank you all for gathering here today.
What follows is a harrowing experience for Jennifer as she finds herself on a mysterious airship under the heel of a bunch of orphan girls who call themselves the Red Crayon Aristocrats, and she must appease them by bringing them offerings.
You're a disgrace.
The story of Rule of Rose isn't particularly easy to understand, and a lot is left up to player interpretation. However, if I had to compare it to existing media, I'd say it's a bit like a combination of Lord of the Flies and Alice in Wonderland, with a little bit of Mean Girls thrown in. Gameplay-wise, what follows is the usual survival horror fare. Slow movement speed, dark corridors, fixed camera angles that sometimes make you backtrack to the previous screen unintentionally. You investigate the airship and find items like keys that will help you progress, or newspapers that will reveal a bit more of the story. There's also a little bit of puzzle solving. One place where there is some innovation is in the addition of Jennifer's dog, Brown. You find him on the ship and he helps you in a number of ways. Brown can sniff out items, which does two things for you. First, it allows you to find things like lollipops and scones, which replenish health. Most importantly, if you show Brown a key item, he will lead you to the next place you need to go to further the story. This is a huge advantage, which cuts out a lot of the aimless wandering that tends to plague these type of games. You can still explore to your heart's content, but when you're ready to move on, Brown will point you in the right direction. Rule of Rose also features a fair amount of combat, which is unfortunate. As is common with survival horror, our protagonist Jennifer isn't much of a fighter. While being unsure of your combat abilities and having the mechanics be not particularly reliable can at times enhance the scare factor of games, in Rule of Rose, the combat is just bad. Jennifer moves at a glacial pace when she's engaged with enemies. Targeting is difficult and hit detection is abysmal. When Jennifer gets hit, she gets laid out on the floor, and often by the time she gets back up, the enemy is primed for another attack. Brown can help you by distracting enemies, but won't do any damage to them. There are only a few boss fights in the game, but some of them are maddening. They can take 20 or even 30 hits to defeat, and you do not hit quickly or land a lot of hits. To make things worse, there's no indication of Jennifer's health level outside of the menu screen. Jennifer will start limping at low health, but that could be anything from half health to a single hit away from death. Having to pause to find your health status breaks what little flow there is in combat. But if you don't do it, you risk dying. Better hope you hit a save point recently. To make a long story short, the combat in this game sucks. Now, I do have nice things to say about this game, but let's get all the negatives out of the way right now, shall we? Inventory is another big hurdle to enjoyable gameplay. You can only hold 12 things, and between weapons, health restoration items, books, notes, and little oddities you find, you'll usually have way more. Thankfully, you can drop things anywhere and they go right into storage, but I found my inventory filled up easily and I had to go in and drop things a lot. There's also a fair bit of backtracking. Some chapters have you trekking from one end of the airship to the other and back, and it gets a bit old. It's not all bad though. The game has its positives. It's compelling, unique, and it looks and sounds great. The cutscenes are just beautiful, well shot, and often disturbing. Even the visuals of the normal gameplay hold up rather well. The game curates a great sense of atmosphere, and though I wouldn't call it scary, there's a constant sense of unease and tension. The music is fantastic and adds to this tension brilliantly. It's both beautiful and haunting. Why are violins so unnerving? Unlike a lot of games, the nerve-wracking parts don't have to do with ghosts or monsters, but rather psychological elements and the violence being inflicted on Jennifer by the other girls. There's a constant feeling that something bad is going to happen, and it usually does. I personally spent the entire game dreading something happening to the dog. Rule of Rose did come under fire for some of its content. It was not released in the UK because government officials called it brutal and obscene and claimed the goal of it was to kill little girls. This was totally false. Sony refused to publish the game in North America because it had erotic undertones, so it was released by Atlas. At least Sony's concern was based on actual game content. The current of unease in this game stems from a fear of young girls. From Jennifer's adult perspective, they are wild, vicious, and uncontrollable. Their motives are hard to understand. I'm gonna guess most of the developers on this game were men. There's a lot of complexity in the story, though there are hints all around as to what's really going on. The game looks at a number of themes, like how children behave when they're outside of adult control, how relationships are formed, and how they can turn toxic. Rule of Rose isn't exactly a fun game to play due to mechanical inadequacies, and the subject matter can be disturbing. However, it is a complex and compelling game with a great aesthetic. Now, due to the controversy and a somewhat limited release, it is one of the most rare games on the PlayStation 2 right now, so if you are looking to pick up a copy, it's currently price charting for over $150. If you want to see more of Rule of Rose, I did post a full playthrough a while back. Given the mechanical difficulties and the rarity of the game, I think a Let's Play is a pretty good way to experience it. I will link to it down in the description below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please do like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.